Hi guys, and welcome back to my Rattrospective series. Part 2 will be all about one of my favorite Ratt albums, and just overall one of my favorite all-time pieces of music, Out of the Cellar. This is the album that put Ratt over the top and brought them fame and fortune that Steven had only dreamed about. Just want to give a quick shout out to Rattmaster86 YouTube channel. Thanks for letting me use all your stuff on your channel, man. It's awesome. Thank you. Let's Ratt N Roll. So now the self-titled EP is out and in music stores across the United States. They pressed it on vinyl and cassette, and the band's reputation began to really solidify with the EP selling respectably. One night, Robin and Steven were driving from a club, just listening to the local LA radio station KLOS, when suddenly they hear, "And now we got a song from a new group, Ratt, You Think You're Tough." Robin and Steven were stunned, awestruck, but Steven insisted listening to your own music is bad luck, so he changes the dial to KMET, another local station, and sure enough, You Think You're Tough was also playing there too. The initial sales of the EP were more than 50K, but the guys never saw a penny, having been released on an independent label. Now the guys are chomping at the bit. They wanted to get signed and really leaned on Marshall, their manager, to get this done. There was fears they'd lose Juan back to Dokken if they didn't get signed soon, too. Things were still looking up for Ratt, though. Marshall got them a gig opening for ZZ Top in Phoenix. Now for Robin, it was a dream come true, since Billy Gibbons was one of his favorite guitarists. And I'd say that is where a lot of his sound came from. Ratt puts on an amazing show, and the crowd just keeps screaming for an encore. They want him to come back out. Now, since they're the opener, they didn't really oblige that, and they were kind of like hesitant to do anything about it until Billy Gibbons actually comes up to them and says, "Get back out there, you dummies. Hurry up and give them another one." The band had a slew of big shows, and they were doing really good on the gigs. But they saw all the other bands like Wasp, Black and Blue, Twisted Sister, and Great White getting signed. Meanwhile, nothing for them. And Stephen Pearcy said, "Hey, we're good, if not maybe better than those guys. Why aren't we getting signed?" Warren had said he felt the band wasn't going to get signed since every label passed on signing them already. After playing gigs, different executives would come and see him play and never sign them. Well, after a gig one night, Marshall brought Doug Morris of Atlantic Records backstage, and he put it bluntly, "We'd like to offer you boys a deal."
And we were like, "That's good enough for Led Zeppelin and the Rolling Stones. I think it's good enough for us." Yeah.
August of '83, the boys hit the studio at the Village Recorder in West LA, along with Sound City, for 10 weeks. They had a $125,000 budget for the album. Now, the guys wanted Tom Allom, who produced Judas Priest, Def Leppard, Loverboy, just to name a few bands in the 80s, and they were really keen on this idea, but Doug Morris forced Ratt to use Beau Hill, stating if they didn't use Beau, they wouldn't be on Atlantic Recording. The band wasn't happy with this at all. They really scrutinized Beau's every suggestion and everything he did with the record. Thankfully, over time, Robin befriended Beau, and this helped get Beau in good graces with the rest of the band. Beau said that Robin was a lot of fun recording. He used to make a lot of jokes and just really lightened up the room. He used to pick on Steven's vocals all the time, one time stating, "I'm sure glad the women think he's sexy because he can't sing." He also came up with this little phrase called Bobadelic, and it was if maybe they weren't the recordings weren't sounding good, or they just needed a little special touch. He would say, "Come on, Beau, give it that little Bobadelic feel." Beau and Juan worked together really closely too, and they actually did all of the backing vocals on Out of the Cellar. Beau stated that Juan was a real professional and a really good bass player, and just overall great to work with. The real issue was, though, that the band was still really broke, and they could only afford to use one rig since it was the only one that even sounded good enough to record with. So when they went on tour for this album, Warren, making money as he was going along, this pushed him to go and buy 25 different heads and like 25 to 30 different like cabinets so that he could eventually play the way he wanted to play and sound the way he wanted to sound next time he went into the recording studio. But that's a story we'll get into on Invasion. Now, as far as Bobby went, he was really difficult to work with as far as everything was always just not right the first take, no matter what. Everything was just nitpicky. He was always just a real stinker to work with, and very disagreeable, I guess. By late December, the album was mixed and slated for a spring '84 release, so in the meantime, the guys had some downtime before the record had dropped. Marshall had came to them and said, "Hey guys, since we got a little downtime, I'm going to tell you something. MTV is where it's at, and so let's make a video, let's put you guys in front of that camera, and let's make some magic." This is where Marshall used his powers and got them their star to be in the video, Milton Berle, his uncle. Milton was large and in charge on that set.
I'm giving you a space so you can cut back and forth. Okay. I know exactly what I'm doing. Yeah. Wait a minute, wait till I get concentrated.
Milton also gave the guys a little bit of advice. Don't take yourselves too seriously. You need humor, hence him actually coming up with the idea to be in drag in the first place. So after the video for Round and Round was shot, they went on the road in February to generate some buzz before the record dropped. Ratt took their newly acquired Eagle bus, the Rolling Hilton as Robin named it, and hit the road on tour, opening for Billy Squier. The bus was definitely a party wagon on wheels. Over time, they redecorated it.
Started looking like a lingerie store or something.
Well, it looked good and occasionally smelled great.
So I walked in one day and said, you know, this place smells like a boat.
After about 3 weeks of panties and bras and sex toys hanging from the ceiling, that thing started to smell bad.
So March arrives and the record drops to good sales. Suddenly the band is told they're going to drop off the Square tour and now tour with none other than Ozzy Osbourne. Ratt toured Canada, Europe, and the US, eventually playing live in front of 15,000 people. The tour was about 2 months, and Steven said it felt really short because he was touring with one of his idols, Ozzy Osbourne. The band then was opening for Blue Oyster Cult, one of Steven's favorite bands as well. By June, Round and Round was on constant rotation on MTV, and the album propelled on the charts in July to the top 30. Soon the guys would finally be headlining, not opening. As they toured, the mobs of people got bigger, the hotels nicer, and the groupies were coming out of the woodwork. With fame comes the accessibility of drugs. This was the 80s, the age of excess, and Ratt's partying is of legendary status at this point. Not to mention that they were great friends with the Motley Crue guys, and Nikki Sixx and Robin Crosby used to do heroin together all the time. Unfortunately for Robin, he never quit, whereas Nikki did. All this excess mixed with the touring really burned the guys out by the end of it. Steven and the guys begged Marshall for a break. He told them, 16 more shows, guys, and then you can take a little break. The show must go on. And it did. Ratt finished their tour fallish winter of 1984, and they decided it's time to take a much needed break, along with fumigating their bus for crabs. The much needed vacation had come, and they were on their way to Maui in December of '84. So a little bit about the album. Its final peaking was number 7 on the top 100 Billboard charts, and that was on August 4th, '84. That's where it peaked at its highest. And it stayed on the charts for 56 weeks. It produced 3 singles, Round and Round, Back for More, and Wanted Man. And by 1985, the album went 3 times platinum or sold about 3 million.
Have your attention, please. I have a special message from Atlantic Records for Ratt. Congratulations! Your album has just sold 1,500,000 records!
In Your Direction was wrote when Piercy was still in Mickey Ratt. I'm Insane and Scene of the Crime were co-written by Crosby while he was still in his band Mac Meta. And you can really feel the impact of this album in pop culture. I mean, Round and Round is in countless movies, TV shows, you name it. Some of them are The Wrestler, the film starring Mickey Rourke. Had Stranger Things.
Max, are you getting that or what?
Okay!
Swear to God, Max!
What are you doing here?
Weird Science.
I'm really sorry it has to come to this.
Come to what?
If you don't cheer up, I'll blow your face off.
Cobra Kai. And even being in a Geico commercial.
The new house is amazing. So much character.
Original crown molding, walk-in closets.
We do have a rat problem. At least Geico makes bundling our home and car insurance easy.
It does help us save.
For bundling made easy, go to geico.com.
So as you can see, Rat's Out of the Cellar had a pretty lasting effect on pop culture and was really huge when it came out at the time. So without any more waiting around, let's jump right into this album, Out of the Cellar, 1984. Alright guys, I got my 1984 Ratt Out of the Cellar tour shirt. Thing is a belly shirt. I have to wear another shirt underneath it because it's so short. I bought it on eBay for like, I think it was like $50 or $60, and I thought, oh cool, you know, belly shirt shouldn't be too short, right? Well, that's pretty short. Pretty cool tour shirt. Got my spandex pants on for you. And let's talk about one of my favorite Ratt records, Out of the Cellar. I have a couple copies. One of them belonged to one of my best friends. He passed away recently, so I got his record back. So now it's just like a backup because I listen to mine so much. So, as you can see, Tawny Katan is Tawny, I guess that's how you say her name. She's on the front again. This time you actually can see her. And we got some pretty cool, I think some pretty cool 80s. I'm never going to get used to the way this reverses when we record, but I think they're pretty cool promo shots of these guys. It doesn't give up too much information here. And it has no insert, so it's kind of like, you know, leaves a lot to be desired, but at the same time it's kind of mysterious, you know. It's my first album. So, let's get right into the music. You have the opener, Wanted Man, which I think rules, and I'll probably say that about most of these songs. I pretty much love every single song on this album, but Wanted Man is such a great opener, such great dual guitar playing, amazing solos from both Warren and Robin, and you can tell which is which. Warren does the first solo. He's got that blistering fast speed, and then you have Robin afterwards, who just digs in with his bluesy, just kind of plodding. I really love it. Solo. Just a friggin' awesome song. And then from there, we go right into You're in Trouble. Another awesome song. I love it, love it, love it. Great bass, great vocals, great guitar work, great dueling guitars, great solos, shred all over it. Amazing. I don't know, it's one of my favorite songs off this album. Really good. And then you have, after that, of course, everybody's most known song by Ratt, which would be Round and Round. And I've heard it so many times at this point. It's on the radio all the time. It's in commercials. It's on TV shows, but I just never get sick of it. I just think it's a brilliant song. I think their guitar work on that is awesome. Their dual guitar playing is awesome. There's that little breakdown right before it gets in the chorus, which is, it's okay. It's not my favorite part of the song, but overall, I just love the song. It's a great song, and I can understand why it put them on the map. It's a really well-written song. But then we get into In Your Direction after that, and that's the only song if I am listening to this not on vinyl, I will kind of skip. It's not that I don't like the song, I just think it kind of drags on longer than maybe if they would have put just a little bit more time into You're in Trouble. Maybe they extend that song by a minute and then maybe trim In Your Direction by a minute. But I still like the song. I just think it's kind of repetitive after a while, but it's still really good. She Wants Money, that's a really cool song. I think it's kind of funny. I think it's kind of tongue-in-cheek. And, the lyrics are pretty silly. But the music's really good. And, they're just very solid with the guitar work, as usual. I love Blatzer's drums on every single one of these songs. He just really commands your attention with the way he just beats the skins like that. He really blasts his toms and his snare. You can hear it. Lack of communication. Awesome. That's a shredder too. And it's heavy. And another thing, it's so relevant these days, the lyrics. People are all in their own little world and no one wants to get involved with anything except with their own opinions and their own attitude about what they believe in. And, it still stands true to today. That's side A. So then we get to side B, and we get into Back for More. Love that song. It was also on the EP, and I like the version off of this one way better. I love the acoustic opening by Robin, and I just love that. It just kind of, it's like got that driving kind of. I just love that pace that they stick with this song. The song ends with such awesome soloing. I mean, Warren DeMartini really starts to showcase his talents on this album. You can tell, compared to the EP, that he is really starting to show why he became a guitar god in the 80s. He is just shredding on that song. We get to The Morning After. I really like it. I think it's cool. I think it's a nice little, just a nice little song to go along with Back for More, and then after I'm Insane. It just fits really nicely in between those songs. It has a good feel. There's some really good dual soloing on that too. Robin and Warren did a lot of that on this album, and that's why I love this album so much, because it reminds me of like a lot of that new wave of British heavy metal stuff where you had like Iron Maiden and Judas Priest and bands like that doing the dueling guitar work. Though I would say that Warren and Robin are totally different guitar players, but they complement each other so well on this album in particular. I'm Insane. That's another great song. It's it's pretty funny also. It's just kind of like a, if you're just having a bad day or something, you probably can relate to it. And it's just another really awesome solos. It's fast. It's got great drum beats on it. Steven's vocals on this whole album I love. Bo did a really good job on his vocals on this album. And the final song, Scene of the Crime. Now, I wouldn't call it a ballad, but it kind of has like that ballady feel, like how it opens up, has that kind of, this is going to be one of those slow songs, ballad songs, but it really isn't. It's pretty cool. I really get a kick out of the lyrics. I kind of relate to those. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to these lyrics. And it's a long song, too. It's over like 7 minutes long. And the guitar work is awesome on it. And, Juan's backing vocals on this one in particular, I just love. Juan is all over this record, too, with his backing vocals. And when I saw them live, Juan was, like, honestly, he was like the secret weapon, because, with Steven being in his 60s now, his vocals aren't as good as they used to be. That's just the facts. I mean, listen to Danzig's voice now. It's terrible. But Juan really complements Steven's vocals so well live nowadays. And he kind of reminds me of, like, Michael Anthony from Van Halen to, like, the David Lee Roth. You've got this great singer, but then there's this great backup singer, too. So it's just a great song with great vocals, great backup vocals, great guitar work, great lyrics. This album, to me, is a 9 out of 10, hands down. The only reason I want to give it a 10 out of 10 is because of In Your Direction. It's just that if I'm going to skip a song, obviously I'm not going to give it a perfect score. Though, I'm sure some people would argue with me and say, no, that song's awesome too. That's a perfect album. I would mostly agree. It really is a pretty perfect album. It's got, the artwork is pretty much, self-explanatory. If you know anything about Ratt, it's here they are. They're out of the cellar. They're finally going to make it with this album. They're out of the cellar. And it shows her, crawling towards the cellar. I like that smoke and the light coming out of it. It's really cool imagery. It's so 80s looking. It's such a metal cover. It's something that you would see if you were flipping through records back in the 80s at like a record store or something like that. And, I like that close-up shot of the cellar door open with all that smoke and light coming out. Let's get a nice look here at Robin and the guys. I like Robin's look. He looks pretty cool. Steven, Warren, and Juan, and then Bobby Blotzer looks like he should be on the back of some like thrash metal album with this face he's making. That's really about it with this. I listen to this record probably every week. I listen to Ratt every day, and this is definitely one of my favorite albums by them. I can't say completely that this is my favorite because I just go through my phases where I just love this one the most, and then I love Invasion the most, and then I love Dancing Undercover the most, and those three are like my triple threat when it comes to listening. So that's about it. And if you like this video, please give me a like and a subscribe, and keep your eyes peeled, because now that they're out of the cellar, they're ready to invade your privacy.